being schooled on the importance of preparing spiritually for the event.
The Bible says we should work as if everything depended on hard work and then pray as if everything depended on prayer. It's important that they pray for discernment to know when to step out, to know where to go to, know the kind of people to visit on that day and the kind of activities to carry out.
Out of Cameroon, Israel and Iran continue to launch airstrikes today in what experts say is becoming one of the world's most worrisome security crises in recent times. And in sports, Cameroonian international handballer Laetitia Ateba has been labeled best foreign player in Italy. Ladies and gentlemen, stay with us. Good afternoon. You are welcome to the 2 p.m. news on Royal FM. Several activities marking the International Women's Day are being carried out nationwide after its official launch on February the 20th, 2026. This year's theme for the celebration highlights concepts like rights, justice, and action. On that note, our youth and education reporter Glory Ngange, together with a civil society activist, evaluates the effectiveness of these virtues, this especially at a time when femicide is on the rise. Details in this report.
As women continue to face violence of all forms, experts in human rights and women's empowerment say it is high time the justice system entered fully into the game. Eva Etonge Maye is a civil society activist.
Awareness is no longer enough. The inclusion of justice and action in the term highlights the gap between our law and our reality. It means we must move from passive advocacy to active enforcement. We need to stop explaining the law and start enforcing its application to protect lives.
The expert further points out reasons why cases involving women and girls rarely come into the limelight before resulting in death or critical conditions.
The social silence, family pressures often force victims out of court settlement, which effectively bury grave crimes. Legal proceedings are often too long and too expensive for the average Cameroonian women, and fear of reprisal and a lack of specialized care within police stations lead to massive underreporting cases that rampant in our society.
Just within the first 2 months of the year 2026, some cases of femicide and other forms of violence against women have been recorded in Cameroon. In 2024 alone, 77 women were killed, a situation which requires practical preventive measures. Eva Etonge Maye once again.
Sensitivity. We must ensure systematic and free access to lawyers for all survivors of violence to level the playing field, integrating consent and gender equality into the primary school curriculum. And lastly, we must communicate loudly on conviction. When the public see that the perpetrator is behind the bars, the culture of impunity will finally shatter.
As the international community looks forward to celebrating women on March 8, many continue to call for collaborative and stringent measures to protect women and punish their persecutors.
Glory Ngange in that report. And as women across the country and the entire globe prepare for the International Day, religious activities, or rather religious authorities, say spiritual preparation is also necessary. One of them is speaking on the microphone of Glory Ngange. Let's listen to Pastor Mulu Alfred Zilefak in this excerpt.
Just as much as it is inevitable that incidents will happen, but we can minimize those incidents. Irrespective of what we're going to say, we know that some people will still go out and do what they are used to doing. Just as much as it's important to pray, that is to guide you spiritually, the Bible says we should work as if everything depended on hard work and then pray as if everything depended on prayer. It's important that they pray for discernment to know when to step out, to know where to go to, know the kind of people to visit on that day and the kind of activities to carry out. The purpose or the objective of that day is to empower women, and it is not to empower women to foolishness. It is not to empower women to nonsense. It is to empower women to know their position, in the community. They are helpers to man, which means when I talk about man here, I'm talking about husband. Yes, they are helpers. So what do they need to do? They are supposed to go for workshops. They spend their time probably in church, where they go for seminar. They attend things that will or services that uplift them spiritually, not rather than spending their time in nightclubs where it is very risky, because on that day every Jack and Jay is probably going to be outside. Even women, children, girls, ladies, you find all of them outside who don't even know the definition of Women's Day.
On to something else, the Minister of State, Property, Surveys and Land Tenure, Henry Eyebe Ayisi, has announced that third-degree chiefs are now eligible to issue certificates of land ownership. He made the statement during the solemn ceremony to officially launch the 2026 judicial year. The announcement has sparked diverse reactions from Cameroonians, some of which spoke on the microphone of our society reporter Ngang Nadej. Take a listen.
The issuing of land certificates by third-degree traditional rulers will go a long way into reducing land disputes and fake land certificates, if and only if those traditional rulers are not fake themselves. At one moment we hear indigenes talking about traditional rulers that have been imposed by the administration, but if a traditional ruler who is legitimate issues a land certificate, nobody will contest it.
The aspect is good because with a land title you are eligible and known, which you can defend yourself that you are the rightful owner of the land, especially in Cameroon, whereby there are some events that happen. Some of them don't have land titles and so on and so forth. And what the minister of state property did was a very good initiative, because with the teacher foncier they will be able to be recognized by the state. Because with the teacher foncier, that's what will make the state to recognize you as the rightful owner of the land.
His statement actually is acting as a double-edged sword, because it has his major advantages and major disadvantages. The advantages will be the fact that people will not have to stress so much to be able to get their names or their information on their ownership documents, because before many people have lands that they bought on other people's name just because they are avoiding go through all the stress of changing the ownership. So now I think it will be easier in that sense. They will also be very bad, like even the chief head, the third degree chiefs, especially in the center region where I reside, are not to be really trusted, because they, I don't know if it's the lack of financial backing from the state to them, but most of them do not portray rulers, or some of them could easily be bribed or cajoled with little or nothing.
And following this new development in the proceedings and the legalities for land titles and ownership, Ngang Nadej equally spoke to a traditional ruler who shared their appreciation of the issue. Details in this report.
The minister's initiative aimed at decentralizing land administration has been welcomed by the traditional ruler, while emphasizing the historical significance of involving chieftaincy in land matters. Barrister Don Christopher is chief of the Munteng village in the northwest region.
Is a welcome relief to the third degree chieftaincies, that is traditional rulers, who are the custodians of all land in a given geographical area called a village or a clan. In the colonial administration in those days always contacted the chiefs of the village or area and discussed with them to have an understanding before they can occupy land.
He believes the decree will streamline the process of land ownership through direct immatriculation, ultimately reducing land disputes and promoting clarity in land tenure.
Before any land is purchased, that land belongs to a particular village, and that village too is run by a chief. It is the chief that can give direction to the buyer and to the seller. And if he has given the powers he has given to chiefs, is because once a chief will append his signature on a document that this land has been transferred by this indigene to this other indigene or an allogen, it becomes a document which will be taken seriously wherever it is presented, even before the law court.
However, the traditional ruler raises concerns about the ambiguity surrounding the type of document traditional rulers are now authorized to issue, since the law stipulates that land ownership documents are issued by the ministry.
Is that then a land certificate? That's a big question. If the chief delivers a document, is it a land certificate? Because the law of this country states anybody who claims land must be somebody who has a land certificate issued by that ministry. So if the minister says chief should start issuing, should have stated clearly that that is the beginning of the process to obtaining a land certificate.
Barrister Don Christopher concludes by suggesting that this move could help resolve doubts about land occupancy, as buyers can verify with the traditional ruler whether a piece of land is occupied or not.
All Cameroonians know from the date of the signing of that ministerial order that before you buy a land, you should look for the chief of the area. And if the chief is not corrupt, he will tell you the truth about the land, if the land is occupied or unoccupied. So that from that point now, when you take up the steps in obtaining a land certificate, you know you have been briefed and given directions by the chief, knowing that you are buying land that is not owned by any other person. Because if at the end it's discovered that the chief has signed one document selling that piece of land to somebody and comes again, sign again the same land, that chief will be in problem. I know most of it starts from there, and that is why the minister came out with this.
The 1974 Land Ordinance restricts direct land ownership to those who developed land before August 5, 1974, implying eligibility for those born before that period. But other avenues like inheritance or concessions are available to those aged 21 and above.
Still to come in this newscast, we talk the war in the Middle East and its effect on the Cameroonian economy, particularly.
Higher global oil prices tend to increase the cost of fuel import and transportation. Even though Cameroon produces some oil, it still imports refined petroleum products.
Welcome back. If you are just tuning in, you are listening to the 2 p.m. news on Royal FM and watching us live on YouTube at Royal FM Cameroon. The northern part of Cameroon is expected to experience a prolonged dry season characterized by heat, dry winds, and rising health and environmental crisis. Meanwhile, the center, southeast, littoral, and southwest regions will see the return of rains, which may become violent, leading to power outages and the destruction of foodstuff and trees. This is contained in a bulletin released by the National Observatory on Climate Change for the period of March the 1st to the 10th, 2026. The institution has therefore urged citizens to embrace preventive measures, which includes hygiene rules and the protection against heat and cold variations, as well as the protection of livestock. And on to some political news. The mortal remains of Anise Georges Ekane is expected to leave the Yaoundé Central Hospital tomorrow, March the 3rd, for Douala. This is according to an official communique from the Manidem party, which equally calls on party members and the sympathizers to mobilize themselves massively. Our political and economic reporter Evans Williams Njobati has more updates on that development.
Ticked as one of the most crucial stages of the road to eternity for the political figure Anise Georges Ekane, the head of communications within the Mandem party, Bedimo Nko, says the corpse will leave the Yaoundé Central Hospital's mortuary to the Simaleng airport with destination Douala.
The requirements don't require much. A good hearse to take the body to the airport, reservations on the flights and in the van for the body, and the same arrangements to be made for Douala. Practically speaking, all of this is already in place.
Even though this outing does not carry any exact timing due to unforeseen circumstances, the Douala-based party, however, wishes that all Cameroonians accompany the body at all levels, given his personality in the country.
Indeed, Ekane was a Cameroonian nationalist. His personality transcended Manidem, so we don't want his funeral to be hijacked by the party. That's why we issued this statement, inviting everyone who can come, even to the airport, to receive the body. We are also making arrangements with administrative authorities.
Ever since the government's decision to restore the body to the family, many discussions on the web have reflected alleged confrontations over who to organize Anise Ekane's burial, something denied by Bedimo Nko.
There should be no kind of battle, given that Manidem has its role in the organization of the funeral. There is the role of political mobilization, which has nothing to do with what the family does, no interference.
After the transfer stage is completed this Tuesday, the body will be kept in a mortuary in Douala, awaiting the official funeral program.
And on another sad note, the Cameroon media family in general and Canaldo International in particular is in tears following the death of a journalist and a reporter Arnaud Gefak. He died yesterday at the Yaoundé General Hospital after a brief illness. Arnaud's demise sparked a wave of emotions within the media sphere, and tributes have been pouring in from his colleagues and friends. Let's now listen to Hyacinth Chia of Canaldo International, a colleague of the deceased.
It's sad. It's really with a heavy heart that we are talking about Arnaud now in the past. Something very heavy for me particularly, because he was beyond a colleague. Yeah, he was more of a brother. We spent a lot of moments together, co-working together, both in Yaoundé, out of Yaoundé, and so you can understand the kind of vacuum his departure has created. And as a senior colleague, he was also one of those who gave me guidance in the profession. For somebody of his personality, he was a jovial guy, committed to his job, very friendly. We shared both the serious moments and, of course, the relaxation moments as colleagues and all that. So I can just say maybe God knows why. Yeah, because when decisions like this come up, it means that we cannot look beyond what God has previewed. I discussed with Arnaud this week. I was even in his house Thursday. Even on Saturday, we discussed over phone. Later did I know that those were the last discussions we are having as colleagues and brothers.
Out of Cameroon, U.S. President Donald Trump has pledged to continue what he calls the righteous mission against Iran until all objectives are achieved, adding that there will likely be more U.S. troop deaths in the process. Trump was speaking in a video on his Truth Social account yesterday. In the meantime, updates on the war today have it that there have been explosions across Qatar, the United Arab Emirates and Kuwait as Iran's retaliatory strike continue, while Lebanon has banned Hezbollah's military activities after a rocket attack on Israel. A building hosting emergency services in Iran has also been hit, with several staff reportedly injured. And the military escalation in the Middle East involving the USA, Israel, and Iran have created significant instability in energy, global markets, financial system, and supply chains, with the Middle East considered as a strategic hub for global oil production and maritime trade routes. Just what could be the consequences of this conflict on Cameroon's economy? Jeffrey Tachum spoke to experts in that domain and compiled their reactions in this report.
The Middle East plays a central role in the global energy market, with countries like Iran supplying significant amounts of the world's oil. As a result, volatility in oil prices is one of the first reactions whenever there is an outbreak of regional instability, a consequence which African countries like Cameroon could suffer in the long run. Jamo Haiwang, research analyst at the Cameroon Economic Policy Institute.
For a country like Cameroon, the economic consequences can appear in several ways. First, higher global oil prices tend to increase the cost of fuel import and transportation. Even though Cameroon produces some oil, it still imports refined petroleum products. This means that global price shocks quickly translate into higher domestic fuel prices.
And while Cameroon might gain in oil revenues in the short term, economic experts say there is a broader risk of inflation, high cost of living, and reduced direct investment, among others.
Since Cameroon imports refined fuel, rising global prices could increase subsidy costs, or it could lead to higher pump prices, which would potentially fuel inflation. Investor confidence may weaken, slowing foreign direct investment and economic projects.
However, Henry Kwan believes that there are reasons not to worry about the political impacts of this ongoing crisis on Cameroon, as he points out an almost inexistent trade deal with Iran.
It's important that we shouldn't overstate the impact of the skirmishes happening in Iran. Yes, they are significant, but for Cameroon, the impact is going to be muted. The majority of our oil is sold to European and Asian partners, not necessarily Iran. And secondly, since Iran has been sanctioned, we don't have any clear, legitimate open trade with Iran. So the spillovers to our economy is going to be very limited.
In today's interconnected global economy, the war in the Middle East is a reminder that no nation is really safe from conflicts happening far away from its borders. Therefore, it is important that Cameroon manage inflation and external shock through the acceleration of structural reforms that could reduce dependency on imports.
From the security crisis in the Middle East, we come back to Africa. Uganda's central bank will start its domestic gold purchasing program this month, joining other policymakers around the world, building up their gold holdings after a surge in the metals price. The executive director of the bank, Adam Mugume, said in a statement today that if all goes as planned, they should be able to purchase at least 100 kilograms of gold between March and June 2026. Two mass graves containing at least 172 bodies in total have been found in the DR Congo's eastern city of Uvira. This after the withdrawal of the AFC M23 rebel group, who briefly captured Uvira last December but began withdrawing a week later under U.S. pressure and leaving the city for the government. The circumstances to the death is yet to be verified, but AFC and M23 spokesperson Lawrence Kanyuka said they were unaware of any mass graves during the group's time in the city and accused the government of spreading propaganda to damage their image. We come back with sports just after this break. Sportsman Biwa Brian has joined me in the studio. Good afternoon, Brian.
Good afternoon, Mapalazita.
We begin with football. The head coach of the Indomitable Lions, Pagu David, has made public a list of 30 players selected to engage in a training camp.
The list bears the name of 30 players selected from 12 elite clubs and 2 academies. The clubs with the most call-ups include Dynamo Football Club and Gazelle with 4 players each, and PWD of Bamenda and Aigle Royal of Meno with 3 players each. These players will be expected to participate in an internship from Friday, March 6 to Tuesday, March 10 in Yaoundé. The goalkeepers include Marc Janvier Nomongene from Panthère Sportive Dundee, Ismaël Fansou from Aigle Royal of Meno, and Manuel Maurice Nkulu from Dynamo Football Club, Hussein Ousmane from Gazelle Football Club. The defenders include Lamine Abdul from Fulf Azou Elite of Yaoundé, Abdullah Adamu from Aigle Royal of Menoa, David Fernand Alaba from PWD, Bongad Eyong Bessem Agbo from PWD, Joseph Alexandre from Dynamo of Douala, Cyril Maktek from Cotton Sport, Serge Valérie Lundu from AS Fortune Onfo, Henri Claude Mbala from Canon Sportif of Yaoundé, Amadou Baka from Gazelle of Garoua, Gil
Frank Peto and a singular Binde from Best Stars Football Academy. The midfielders include Mael Fernandez from Gazelle Football Club, Jean Osoma from Canon Sportif of Yaoundé, Hassan Makili from Gazelle Football Club, Stéphane Noah Arnaud from AS Fortuna, Issa Fadil Usmanu from Cotton Sport, Conrad Fansu from Panther, Junior Landry Nkwam from Star Renard of Melonco, Gandhi Retansi from Victoria United of Limbe, Jefta Array from Dynamo Football Club, and Patrick Clovet Fongang from PWD of Bamenda. The attackers include Ambrace Owondi Ovuna from Feuve Azu Elite, Edin Yemle from Aigle Royal, Jules Amankou from Dynamo, Dylan Kwam Bape Hakim from Unisport of Nkam, and Rooney Bilyang from Galactic Football Academy of Douala.
Brian, Cameroon now has new Ballon d'Or winners after the award ceremony was staged over the weekend at the Yaoundé Conference Center.
The event reached its peak during the award ceremony where Tiwa Lis and Serge Doura were honored as the season's most outstanding players in the female and the male category respectively. Serge Doura emerged as the night's biggest winner, securing a hat-trick of honors that included the Golden Boot, the revelation of the season, and the prestigious Ballon d'Or award. In the women's side, Tiwa Lis was celebrated for her clinical performance in the Guinness Women's Super League, wherein she finished with 22 goals and earned the Golden Boot alongside the female Ballon d'Or award. The ceremony also recognized excellence across several other roles, where Eugene Peck took home the trophy for the goal of the season, while Idris Umfofinya was recognized as a top goalkeeper with the Golden Glove. Technical leadership was awarded to Stefan Zana for the women's category and Richard Thoa for the male category. The league champions Colombe Sportif in the male category and Leke Football Girls were officially named the best clubs of the season. The refereeing honors were awarded to Abdel Mafaya and for the men's category and Tati Inostencia for the women's category.
And away from football, the Cameroon Bodybuilding Federation has held their elective General Assembly to confirm the governing body of the federation, Brian.
The elective General Assembly held on Saturday, February 28 at the Ministry of Sports, during which Achille Balimanya was re-elected president of the federation for another term. Following his re-election as the president of the Bodybuilding Federation, Achille Balimanya expressed a positive sentiment while emphasizing the significant responsibility that comes with the role. He noted that while the feeling of being re-elected is good, he views the appointment not merely as a source of joy, but primarily as a commitment to hard work. Balimanya clarified that holding the presidency is not comparable to receiving a new toy, but rather a significance to show the need to put systems in place to enhance the federation's performance and ensure that operations run effectively. While looking ahead, the president outlined that the immediate next steps for his administration is high-quality organization of the World Championship. In an interview after the re-election, he stated his intention to work closely with his team to establish the federation as a strong institution, focusing on magnifying their efforts and ensuring everything is properly positioned to achieve his goals.
The feeling is good. I'm feeling good as a president because being re-elected is not a matter of joy, it's a matter of hard work, because what is waiting for us now is to try to work and perfect our willing to try to put stuff up, because being re-elected means a lot of work. People will think that we are going to be happy because it's like you get a toy. It's not a new toy they're giving us. It's hard work we need to put in place to try to perform more and try to get stuff really well. The next step is to organize the World Championship very well, is to put stuff in place, to be well as a good federation, is to magnify things to be okay. Then I'm trying to push with my team to put stuff in good place to make stuff happen.
From bodybuilding, we talk handball, Brian, with Cameroonian international Laetitia Ateba, who has been labeled best foreign player in Italy.
The Cameroonian international left-back Laetitia Petrona Teba Ngandi has been voted the 2025 best foreign player in the Italian Serie A Handball League. The distinction comes after the indomitable Lioness enjoyed a breathtaking 2024-2025 campaign, finishing as the second highest scorer in the top flight with a total of 141 goals. While playing primarily for Handball Eris before her recent move to Petonia, Ateba was a centerpiece of a double winning streak for her set team. She led her team to both the 2025 Italian Cup known as the Coppa Italia and the Italian Super Cup titles. Her dominant performance earned her MVP honors in the Cup final and the league's playoffs, alongside the distinction of being named the league's best left back. The 25-year-old player, who previously starred for Fans Handball Club of Yaoundé, has been on a stock rise, significantly rising in Europe after extending her stay in Italy. She continues to be a vital asset for Team Cameroon as Cameroon gears up for future competition, notably the Women's African Cup of Nations, to be played in the coming 5 months.
As At some 30 minutes after 2 p.m., it is time to welcome Francine Ateba into the studio with a summary of this newscast in the French language. Bon après-midi, Francine.
Good afternoon, Mapalazita. Médiascopie, la presse camerounaise est en deuil. Ano Ngenfak, journaliste grand reporter à Canal 2 International, est décédé ce 1er mars 2026 à l'hôpital général de Yaoundé des suites de maladie. Il aura marqué de son empreinte le paysage médiatique camerounais. À partir du 1er avril 2026, les chefs traditionnels de 3e degré seront habilités à délivrer les titres fonciers provisoires sur des dépendances du domaine national, selon une circulaire du ministre des Domaines, du Cadastre et des Affaires foncières, Henri Eyebe Aïssi, une mesure louable pour les chefs traditionnels et les propriétaires terriens. À l'étranger, en Iran, les frappes iraniennes en direction des Émirats arabes unis ont fait plusieurs morts et de nombreux blessés. De nouvelles explosions ont été entendues dans plusieurs villes de la région. Le Moyen-Orient s'embrase 2 jours après le lancement d'une attaque israélo-américaine contre l'Iran. En sport, la liste des 30 joueurs locaux convoqués par le coach David Pagou pour le stage des Lions indomptables du 6 au 10 mars 2026 est connue. Sur cette liste, l'absence du ballon d'or camerounais Serge Daoura est constatée.
Ladies and gentlemen, that was the package we compiled for you on today's Royal Afternoon edition, which was technically assisted by Urish Kemwe. Brian Bidat took care of the cameras for our social media live video. Production assistance Ngang Nadej, script editing and editorial coaching Abel Bela Samari, central coordination Roger Kiek, our station manager, and general supervision by the Reverend Pastor Bisai Emmanuel Noel. For news editing and presentation, my name is Mapalazita. Thank you all for your kind attention, and do have a pleasant afternoon in the company of programs over Royal FM. More news comes up at 6 p.m. That, of course, will be a bilingual edition. But before then, part 2 of Fraîcheur Royale continues with Doreen Bimi. No, Dodo.
Yes.
Okay, Dodo, you're welcome back.
Thank you.
Deuxième partie, Fraîcheur Royale.
Oui, la deuxième partie, on va continuer avec les auditeurs sur les 2 thématiques que nous avons mis sur la table depuis 12h30 sur le pan du 8 mars. Pourquoi ça crée toujours beaucoup de problèmes dans les foyers. Et la deuxième partie, la deuxième thématique, autant pour moi, on va parler du père qui te donne l'ordre de rester sur place lorsqu'il a eu des guéguerres avec ton mari. Donc, il te dit de rester sur place et ton mari te dit allons-y. Qu'est-ce que tu fais? Quel choix tu fais?
Le choix que je fais, je crois que je vais leur dire de se décider entre eux. Hein, parce que là, entre père et fille, et vous me mettez au milieu, papa.
Oui, bien sûr.
Décidez-vous. Non. Décidez-vous. Ce que vous allez me dire là, c'est ce que je veux faire.
D'accord.
Ladies and gentlemen, stay with Dodo, stay tuned and stay blessed.